What's going on YouTube? This is your boy Everyday Tech and I'm back with another one. So, got the intro out the way. I know it's been a minute, but I got some good news. You see, I was actually able to get my hands on a Pixel 9 Pro. Now, not the Pro XL that you've been seeing reviews for, but the regular standard size Pixel 9 Pro. Now, this was given to me. I am not part of Team Pixel, but the fact that I didn't pay for this does not change my first impressions I'm going to give. Everything I'm going to say is through my own thoughts. No one gets any access to this video before I publish it or anything like that. No, I'm going to do like I always do and just be 100% real with you. So let's dive in. Now, we all know I've been looking and waiting for a smaller Pixel Pro phone. I said it in my last two generations of Pixel devices that I'm ready for a small Pro. And it's one of the things that I really love that Apple does. And I gotta say, I can see where Google is taking its inspiration from some of the competitors. And I'm not saying that to down them or call them copycats. I'm saying they're doing the right thing. They see what works and they're following suit. So let's jump in. Now, number one, we're gonna talk about the design of this bad boy. And this is where that inspiration from Apple really comes into place, because the first thing you're going to see is the new design, where it's much more squared off. It's actually flat all around, but it has a nice curve on the side. And unlike the previous iPhones before the 15, the back kind of has a slight curve, so when you hold it, it's not digging into your hand and it's not feeling super uncomfortable. It actually feels really nice. It's a 6.3-inch screen with their super actual display. And I gotta say, it's really comfortable to hold and really comfortable to use. I'm really digging it. It's just wide enough, just tall enough that it still feels really compact, but big enough that watching media and watching anime or YouTube videos, it doesn't feel like I'm missing out on anything, even though it is a more compact device. Now, as you can see, I got my porcelain white. You know me, I always love the white Pixels. And this one is probably the most elegant looking one. This looks very professional. I gotta say though, the hazel that I didn't get my hands on looks fantastic. Better than I thought it would. I had to see it in person to know, damn, I kind of wish I could have tried that. But I'm not complaining. It's a matte finish. The only thing I don't like is, for some reason with the Pro model phones, they always give us these shiny polished side rails, but the base model phones get a matte finish. I think they need to reverse that. They should have the Pixel 9 Pro be matte all around. Now, I will say I haven't noticed too many fingerprints on these side rails, but I still prefer the matte look. I think it just looks better. You still have your typical button layout, so volume rocker on the bottom and power button up top on the same side. I know a lot of people don't like that. If you use Pixel devices, you're probably used to it like me, but I get why some people feel it's just a little odd. It does, especially if you're used to Samsung devices, it's a little out of place. What I think they should do with the next one is probably put a little texture on that power button. That way, when you're just feeling around, you know which button you're pressing and there's no accidental trigger. Now, another thing about the design is they reinvented or remodeled their typical Pixel bar or camera bar. I gotta admit, when I was looking at a lot of the renders before this officially was announced, I did not think it looked good. I actually was very disappointed with how it looked. And I didn't like the fact that Google was going away from their established design. But after I actually got my hands on it, I'm not even gonna say it grew on me. As soon as I got this thing in my hand, I was like, oh, damn, this looks good. It still has that very Pixel look, but it's more refined, more mature, and I think it actually suits where the series wants to go. It does make the phone still feel very much like a Pixel without that caveat of, oh, something's a little cheap. And that goes for the total build. The entire build of it, not just the design, feels way more substantial in hand. It feels way more polished, very premium. I know I said that with last year's, but there were still some rough edges on the Pixel 8 series. This one seems to be what you would expect from a Samsung device or an Apple device. The only thing that feels a little bit cheaper compared to those two is the fact that the side rails it feels a little soft. And I don't know if it's because it's polished or what, but it has a softer feel. Maybe that's because we're all used to titanium now. But other than that, I gotta say this design, they knocked it out the park. Especially in the smaller one, it feels so damn good. This is all I wanted. They could have just did this and I'd have been happy. But there's improvements in other places. So let's continue on. Now, another big change, or let me say a small change that actually has some big side effects in a good way, is the Tensor G4. Now, we're going to talk about this because there's this whole controversy about the benchmark scores, and people are going to benchmarks and saying, oh, it's slower than the iPhone 12, yada, yada, yada. Why would they make a cheap chip? Shut up. For one, Google has been very vocal about the fact that they're not chasing raw power. And I gotta say, what's more important than benchmarks and fake numbers on paper is everyday performance. Since I've been using this for about a week, this thing did not slow down. It doesn't falter, it doesn't stumble, it runs through apps, it opens web pages super quick, and I've even had some success with gaming, more so than I did on the Pixel 8. Now, it's not going to be the best for gaming, but there are gaming phones for that reason. What it does very well is I can actually play games like Call of Duty on the higher graphic settings with higher frame rates. Same thing with Zenless Zone Zero, which is very similar to Genshin Impact. Same people make it, so it's a very demanding game. I did notice when I put my graphics too high on that, it gets a little bit of stutter. Not something that's game breaking, but you will notice a few dips. I wanted to test it out and see how well it could play. So no, it's not the best for gaming, but it's not bad at all. People make it sound like Pixels can't game. You will have no problem playing games on a Pixel. Call of Duty was smooth. Asphalt Unite, smooth. Wild Rift, smooth. I have no trouble gaming on this, besides a few small frame drops. And you can't max everything out. That's where people consider it a bad gaming phone. Not only just gaming, right? That's a small part of it. Most people don't even worry about gaming on their cell phones. What people really care about with their phones is a couple of things that we probably take for granted, and one is thermals. And we know Pixels have had trouble with their thermals in the past. This one seems to have fixed it. Google has put a brand new vapor chamber in the Pixel Pro series and I believe the Pixel Pro Fold, and I gotta say, immediately I noticed an improvement. For one, generally speaking, when you transfer all your data from one phone to another, your phone does get hot and it affects the performance, and that's normal across the board. It did happen here, but it was not nearly as hot as it was on my Pixel 8 Pro. Also, I've noticed that the few times this does get warm, usually when I'm doing heavy gaming or if I'm using the phone while it's charging, it tends to dissipate the heat much quicker. I feel it in my hand immediately start cooling off once I stop doing whatever heavy usage I was doing. And to be honest, if I'm gaming or using it while it's charging, it's normal for any phone to get warm. And that's what this does. It gets warm. It doesn't get super hot, and I have not seen one overheating issue. Mind you, this is August in Florida. It is very, very hot. And I have not had one issue using it for the camera or anything, or being outside, or even when I'm driving. It's one of the things that they've fixed. It's quality of life. They did a lot of small things that have big results. Another thing is the modem. They have definitely improved the modem. I didn't have a lot of modem issues with my Pixel 8 Pro. A few with my 6, but my 8 Pro didn't really have any issues. But here's what I've noticed. Usually if I'm riding around after on a YouTube video, on my Pixel 8 Pro, if I made it go to 4K, it would stumble. There'd be a little bit more buffering, and it would take time for that 4K to kick in on YouTube. This one, I noticed it seems to be grabbing data much quicker and much more stable because there have been almost no buffering, and it almost immediately clicks into 4K when I'm watching videos. Doesn't matter where I'm driving, where I'm at, because I travel for work. It's been really good. That modem is definitely faster and more stable than before. So when you have a much more stable and efficient modem, as well as a vapor chamber and a more efficient processor, there's another benefit, and that is better battery life. Now, I'm not gonna say this is a 2-day phone at all. No, but this little guy gets me throughout the day. Remember, this is smaller than the Pro XL, which is about the same size as my 8 Pro. And I think I get the same battery life on this, if not a little bit more than I did on my 8 Pro on this little guy. That doesn't mean I haven't killed it in a day. On super heavy days, I have definitely killed it by around 4 or 5 o'clock after getting up at like 7. But that's usually when I'm driving around with GPS while it's playing music or playing an audiobook or watching a video all at the same time, and I'm not having it plugged in. So those days where I do kill it, I'm doing a lot. But days like today where I'm at home, chilling, relaxing, that battery just lasts. Oh, and another improvement I've noticed with this compared to other Pixels is standby time. That's where the biggest change in battery is. This thing sips power when you're not using it. It's just a little bit at a time. Before, this thing was power hungry. You would lose like so much battery overnight, it was kind of ridiculous. This guy, I don't charge overnight all the time. A lot of times I find myself at like, maybe 40% battery, and I just let it sit there because I know it's not going to drain by the time I get up, and I'll get some more hours out of it the next day. So when you're being mindful, when you're being more moderate and you're not really gaming a lot, or you're not testing the phone for a review like I've been doing, you can really stretch the battery out on this little guy. I cannot wait to try the Pro XL because that battery life must be fire. So there we go. We got battery life, thermals. What else is very important with Pixels? You can't leave out that camera. And there's been some pretty good improvements. Nothing too drastic, but once again, it's those small updates Google's done to make it feel a little better. For instance, I've noticed video has been improved. I'm not even talking about when you do the video boost that boosted up to 8K after using Google's cloud service. Just the all-around camera in this thing is slightly improved. It's really good. Maybe it's still not iPhone level, but I can tell Google wants to get there. They use basically what they do with HDR in their photos. They found a way to do it on their videos, and it does work. I'll show you some photos as well as some video samples on this, and you can see for yourself. Why you gotta follow me for? All right, so as you can see, the video is really smooth. It doesn't have that like color shift problem. It doesn't seem like it's buffering while you're shooting videos. I felt like sometimes you can see the little hiccups in the other videos of Pixel 8 Pro and the 6 Pro. But it looks really good. I'm extremely happy with it. And of course, you can boost it to 8K with Video Boost. Not only is the back camera better, but the front-facing camera for not just videos, but just photography has been much improved. You now get a 42 megapixel front-facing camera, and it tracks your face and all the good stuff a back camera does. I think this is the best front-facing camera on the phone. And maybe it's just me. I haven't heard much people talk about this front-facing camera, but I've really noticed it. Once again, I'm going to share some pictures so you can see what I'm talking about. And of course, the back cameras have been amazing, just like every other Pixel. They have changed the computational photography algorithm a little bit, I've noticed. It's a little less harsh, a little less ramped up, but it's still very much a processed Pixel photo. It seems like they're trying to tone it down a little bit, but they're still playing it safe with what they know. The good thing is now you get an upgrade in your ultra wide camera as well as a telephoto. They're both now at 48 megapixels. Even when you're switching lenses, I've noticed it's a little bit smoother than last year. Not quite iPhone. It's still a little jumpy, but way smoother. But the color shift is not nearly as drastic. In fact, they look very similar to each other. So using these cameras, it is becoming such a full-featured camera setup. With the video being as good as it is, and the cameras being very comparable to each other, I'm liking this camera setup. It's nothing drastic from the Pixel 8 Pro. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a night and day difference, but it looks really good. Speaking of night and day, that night camera, the night shots, still amazing. Can't go wrong. So there's a few other little improvements here and there sprinkled throughout this thing that I've been noticing, such as, for one, the fingerprint scanner is so fast. It is now ultrasonic, so it doesn't blind you at night. And I didn't have much trouble with my Pixel 8 Pro. I really had a pretty good experience with that fingerprint scanner, but I did have to put at least 3 fingerprints to get there. This one I set up once, and it's been perfect ever since. Even better is even when my hands are a little wet or a little dry or whatever, it still works like 99% of the time. The screen looks a lot better. Well, not a lot better, but the color calibration is a little better. It gets a lot brighter. But that super action screen from last year was already fantastic, and it's still fantastic here. And with the smaller device, it just makes for better pixel density. So once again, you're not gonna have any trouble with the screen. There's no weird color shifts, and the viewing angles have been fantastic on this guy. Speakers have also been pretty improved. They're not the best speakers out there, but really good speakers. It's nice and loud. It's nice and full. Much better than last year's, in my opinion. I really didn't use it too much. I used my headphones, but this one I don't mind using out loud, and I like the sound. So, little improvement there as well. So yeah, so far this is my first impressions, and it's been very good. I didn't expect a jump from last year to this. This feels like a much more refined product, and it really feels like Google's Android hardware and software team have finally started working together to make one really cohesive device. And I cannot forget about AI. Now, we're probably all tired of hearing about AI, which is why I saved it to the end, because this phone's, all those improvements are not including the AI. The AI is now the icing on the cake. When you get something like Gemini Live that has such great conversational abilities, it is creepy, but in a good way. I'll give you a little example. Hey Google, I need a better workout plan. I have not put on muscle, and I am trying to gain 10 pounds of muscle. So what do you think I should do?
All right. Sounds like you're ready to step up your workout game. Building muscle takes both a solid routine and the right fuel. First, let's talk about your diet. You'll need to focus on eating more protein to help repair and build those muscles.
Can I use steak?
Chicken, fish. Yes, steak is a great source of protein. Just make sure it's a lean cut, like a sirloin or flank steak.
What type of leg workouts should I do?
For legs, you can't go wrong with classic squats and lunges. They're great for
I love that. I don't have to stop it from talking. It continues on knowing what we were talking about prior. It feels way more natural in a creepy Skynet way. So hey, everyone, be nice to your AI before they decide they hate us. Now you still get your, call-in features. But one cool thing I thought was really nice is Pixel Studio. I thought I'm never going to use this. It's a stupid little image generator. But Google's works very well, very accurate, and there's less monstrosities than I've seen in other AI image generators. You can also save them and use them as stickers and messages. So a lot of cool things. There's also Gemini being sprinkled all over Pixel now. Found it in my Gmail, found it in my messages. This is going to continue the trend of being the smartest smartphone. But nothing's perfect. I still need to see how it ages. The battery life, like I said, I've had some days where it died in the middle of the day. I really haven't noticed much bugs. I don't want to just give this a glowing review. This is my first impression, so I'm still figuring it all out. I'm sure there's things we could do better, but I'll save that for the full review. But until then, I'm really digging this. And that's with AI not even being a part of the conversation. Just the hardware, just the software, just the processor. Everything seems like, rather than make drastic leaps and bounds and shoot for the moon, they are taking their time and polishing it. And this year, I think it's paying off. But we'll continue to take a look at this. I'm going to continue to get my full review, and I'll get back to you. If you have any questions for that full review, drop them in the comments. Let me know what you want to hear me talk about. Let me know if you have any concerns with anything, and I'll try to figure it out by the time I get that review out. So thanks for letting me talk about tech. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.